Who is the villain for Resident Evil Requiem? Obviously, we know that someone has their rise on the Ashcroft family, specifically with Grace Ashcroft for whatever reason. We don't know who this person is. Obviously, we got a voice recently in the new trailer talking about their interests with Grace and how they've kind of been spying on her from the shadows. Of course, obviously, I knew Eliza Ashcroft wasn't that of interest, or maybe at the time, probably some time back, Eliza Ashcroft was of some interest, but obviously they kind of just disposed of her. Well, probably not intentionally, but it just happened, obviously, probably protecting Grace from the hooded figure. Of course, we know that the hooded figure does die, so I don't think, obviously, the person sitting at the chair, as well as the person that we've seen, obviously, in the trailer for Grace and Eliza, I don't think they're the same person, but I could be wrong. It's just something I kind of not too sure if they're the same person. I know some people thought obviously that was maybe Nikolai, but I don't really think that's the case, and I have someone else in mind who I might think be the big bad for Resident Evil Requiem, which was kind of makes sense. And hold with me, I kind of already mentioned this in my last video, which is obviously Oswell Spencer. Voyage, why would you even think of the possibility of Oswell Spencer coming back in Resident Evil? Now bear with me, there's a bigger clue now because of this theory I have in my head, thanks to the new trailer that obviously provided me with this. And of course, I just want to say, there is the possibility that he could come back. I mean, we barely even got a moment with this guy. What we did get was a few little scenes of him talking about how he was meant to be a god and gets literally obliterated by Wesker, and then just that's it. This guy who's meant to be a real big bad of the franchise, who's been around, you know, the founder of Umbrella, just goes like that. That just doesn't seem right to me, especially with the House of Geniuses that's lived in that lived in Umbrella, like the likes of Wesker, William Birkins, James Marcus. Come on, like, it just doesn't make sense at all. I'm sure that he had something ideally, you know, like a backup body or something after Wesker done what he done, and I actually think he wanted Wesker to go so his plans could obviously flourish, obviously if he gets still kicking. And the reason why I think that is definitely our new image that we got from the new trailer. Now, at the end of our new trailer, we got obviously this sinister look at this man who we've obviously seen sitting down in the first trailer, which now that I think about it, yeah, they pretty much are the same person, but just different costume or different look when he doesn't have the goggles and without the goggles and such. But obviously, I think this guy might be Oswell Spencer. The only reason why is because of the scar going down from his, obviously his chin or his mouth to his chest, and obviously that does kind of raises some questions like, who else has something of an injury like that? And obviously the only one that comes close is Oswell Spencer. If you remember, obviously in Resident Evil 5, Wesker had the flashback of obviously Oswald's final moments, which he obviously took away from him by piercing him through the chest with his own bare hands. And obviously this is kind of the assumption and theory that's kind of rattling through my mind, is why that this guy might potentially be Oswell Spencer. Now, there are issues obviously with this idea because, again, why does he have black hair? Or it looks like he has black hair, and obviously Spencer doesn't actually have black hair because he's really old. So that does kind of you know, ruin the idea of this. But again, it's just something I kind of want to get out there. Obviously, I know I've seen people talk about this guy maybe being Heisenberg, but I don't really think so because, one, his plans are kind of already thwarted. Both, even if he was alive, because Rose kind of gave up her powers because of the DLC that she had at the end of Resident Evil 8, and so I don't really think Grace has that same thing going on. I could be wrong though, but it's just something I just don't see happening. I mean, there's a possibility maybe he has a backup plan or a new idea, but again, everything's kind of gone, you know, everyone is gone. And I guess that would be the perfect moment for him to initiate his plan because there's no Mother Miranda to stop him, but it's just something I don't really see happening. Other than the Oswald idea of him obviously being the big bad, I really don't think there's anyone else that can take this because most of RE's villains are pretty much already gone and have already had their little limelight, whether it was long or short. Either way, they're pretty much gone, so I do think that this could be a whole new villain, but it could be connected to prior villains, prior characters, like Oswell Spencer, or for example, even James Marcus, or, you know, William Birkins. There's endless possibilities of who this character could be connected to. The last thing is I want to know what your guys' thoughts are. Do you think this is a returning face who we've seen probably show up a few times, or a completely new one that's probably connected to some old characters like Wesker and James Marcus? Let me know in the comment section below, and as always, hit that like button and subscribe for more RE content. I'll see you all next time. Peace out, guys.